The transport station on Kepler 442 hummed with the usual cacophony of 1,000 different species going about their lives. Harry Mitchell stood at the edge of the landing platform, his weathered hands gripping the railing as he watched shuttles descend through the amber sky. 3 years since the interstellar peace accord, and he still wasn't used to seeing Zenthari vessels landing beside human cruisers. He'd come to this colony world to forget, to leave behind the screams of the Sentinel Wars, the faces of soldiers he couldn't save, and the memory of his wife Sarah, lost in the bombardment of New Terra. Here, on the outer rim, he worked maintenance at the fusion plant and kept to himself. That was before Elsa. She appeared one morning at the community center where Harry volunteered, helping new arrivals navigate the colony's registration system. Elsa was Zenthari, tall and graceful, with luminescent blue skin that seemed to glow softly in dim light, and large amber eyes that held depths of both sorrow and kindness. Her twin children, Myra and Kale, clung to her sides like small satellites. "I need help," she said in accented but clear galactic standard. "The housing algorithm rejected my application again." Harry looked up from his console, meeting those amber eyes. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. There was something in her gaze, a recognition of shared pain, perhaps. The Zenthari had fought on the opposite side during the war, but the peace accord had declared amnesty for all. "Let me see what I can do," Harry said quietly. As he worked through the bureaucratic maze, Elsa's children explored the small office with cautious curiosity. Myra, the girl, had her mother's luminescent skin but darker, with patterns that shifted like oil on water. Kale was smaller, quieter, his bioluminescence dimmer than his sister's. "Your mate?" Elsa asked, noticing the worn wedding band Harry still wore. "Gone," he replied, not looking up. "The war." "Mine also," Elsa said softly. "Kale's father died defending our colony ship. The children don't remember him." Harry found himself looking at her then, really looking. In her face, he saw reflected everything he'd felt since Sarah's death, the crushing loneliness, the guilt of surviving, the desperate attempt to build something new from the rubble of loss. "I can get you temporary housing in Sector 7, Harry said. "It's not much, but it's a start." Elsa's expression transformed, gratitude radiating from every feature. Thank you so much." That should have been the end of it, a simple act of kindness, nothing more, but the colony was small and their paths crossed again. And again. Harry found himself at the market when Elsa shopped there. She appeared at the fusion plant's community events. Coincidence became pattern, pattern became intentional. They began taking walks together in the Crystal Gardens after Harry's shifts ended. Elsa worked as a xenobiologist, studying the planet's unique ecosystem. She spoke of her research with passion, and Harry found himself drawn to her enthusiasm, to the way she saw wonder in everything despite her losses. The children warmed to him slowly. Myra first, always the brave one, asking Harry endless questions about human culture and Earth. Kale took longer, watching from behind his mother's legs with those two solemn eyes. "He's afraid," Elsa explained one evening as they sat on a bench overlooking the settlement. The children played nearby, Myra teaching Kale some human game Harry had shown her. After his father died, he stopped speaking for 6 months. He's better now, but he fears attachment. "Smart kid," Harry muttered. Elsa turned to him. "Is that why you hold back fear?" The question hung between them like a challenge. Harry wanted to deny it, but he'd never been good at lying. "I loved my wife," he said finally, "the thought of replacing her." "I'm not asking you to replace anyone," Elsa interrupted gently. "The Zenthari believe that the heart has infinite capacity. Love doesn't diminish love, it multiplies." Harry looked at her, at this alien woman with her impossible ideas about hearts and love, and felt something crack inside his chest. "I was a soldier," he said. "I killed Zenthari, maybe even people you knew. And I lost my mate to human weapons," Elsa replied. Should we let their war continue in our hearts, or should we choose something different? That night, Harry lay awake in his small apartment, staring at the ceiling. Sarah's photograph sat on his nightstand, smiling at him across the gulf of death. He'd told himself he was being faithful by refusing to move on, by wearing his grief like armor. But maybe Elsa was right. Maybe the real betrayal would be refusing to live. The crisis came 3 weeks later. A massive solar flare warning sent the colony into emergency protocols. Harry was at the fusion plant, implementing shutdown procedures, when he received Elsa's panicked message. The evacuation shelter assigned to Sector 7 was full, overcrowded with families who'd arrived first. She and the children had nowhere to go. Harry didn't think, he ran. The streets were chaos, people rushing toward underground shelters as warning sirens wailed. Harry found Elsa near the sector entrance, Kale in her arms, Myra clinging to her side, all three terrified. "Follow me," Harry shouted over the alarms. He led them through maintenance tunnels he'd learned during his work at the plant, passages that bypassed the crowded public routes. His security clearance got them into the plant's reinforced shelter, just as the first wave of radiation swept over the colony. In the darkness of the shelter, surrounded by the quiet breathing of sleeping engineers and technicians, Harry sat with Elsa and her children. Myra had finally fallen asleep against his shoulder, her small body trusting in a way that broke his heart. Kale slept in Elsa's lap, one small hand reaching out to grip Harry's sleeve. "You risked yourself for us," Elsa whispered. "Why?" Harry looked at her in the dim emergency lighting, at this woman who'd somehow become essential to his breathing. Because somewhere along the way, you stopped being strangers. You became mine to protect. Elsa's eyes glistened with unshed tears. In Zenthari culture, when someone claims protection over another's children, it's a declaration, a promise. "I know," Harry said, and realized he'd known for a while what this was becoming. When the all-clear sounded 8 hours later, they emerged into dawn light that painted the colony in shades of gold and rose. The solar flare had passed, leaving minimal damage, but something fundamental had shifted in Harry's universe. That evening he stood at Elsa's temporary housing unit, heart pounding. She opened the door, and before he could lose his courage, he removed the wedding band from his finger. "I'm not taking it off because I've forgotten Sarah," he said carefully. "I'm taking it off because I'm ready to remember her by living again, if you'll have me, if the children." "Uncle Harry," Myra burst through the doorway, wrapping her arms around his waist. Behind her, Kale appeared, and for the first time Harry heard the boy speak. "Stay," Kale said simply. Elsa's smile was like sunrise. "They've already chosen you. I chose you weeks ago. The question is, are you ready to choose us?" Harry looked at this impossible family, an alien woman, 2 Zenthari children, and a broken human veteran trying to rebuild himself. It wasn't what he'd imagined his life would become. It was stranger, more complicated, more terrifying. It was also more hope than he'd felt in 3 years. "Yes," Harry said, stepping across the threshold. "I choose you, all of you." As the door closed behind him, Harry caught his reflection in the window, a man walking toward his future instead of away from his past. Sarah's memory would always be with him, a cherished chapter in his story. But Elsa and her children were writing new chapters now, in a language of forgiveness, possibility, and love that transcended species. In the end, what Harry did wasn't remarkable. He simply chose to live again, to let his scarred heart expand to hold more than grief. And in a universe still healing from war, that choice changed everything. The Zenthari had been right all along. Love didn't diminish love. It multiplied. The end.